And so say hello to everyone and welcome you to the second in a series of Open Educational Resource webinars. Today we are talking about using them and what are the issues in terms of using them. We're going to have a bunch of presenters, which is why I want to get started on time. Let me just briefly mention who they are, and they're going to introduce themselves. Kathy Swift from Merlot is going to be leading the major parts of today's discussion, where I'm answering the questions that were in the description that we provided, and we'll go further. And Mitchell Levy will be interviewing her in that process. Jeff Kahn, hopefully he will join us, he's not here yet, will talk about standards issues with using open educational resources. Daniel Williamson from Connections will talk about that digital library, that resource. Lisa McLaughlin, and I'm hoping she joins us soon, and actually I think she has, yes. We'll discuss OER Commons, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about SoftChalk, because we also have a digital repository. And then at the very end, Judd Sage, who's a faculty member at Northern Virginia Community College, has developed an e-text, which is quite impressive and expensive. And Melissa Atteberry from Lone Star College has took that e-text and made it interactive with SoftChalk. So that's where we are, and that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take one last look to see if I can find Jeff and upgrade. Here we go. Jeff is there. So I'm going to take him and make him an organizer. Okay, so I think we're good here now. Everybody's where they need to be. Let me talk a little bit about what today's going to be like. We're using a product called GoToWebinar, and because we had 380 people register for this session, while some aren't showing up, we are recording this session, so they will be able to get the recording later on. But because the numbers, we're going to use a question and answer box, and it looks something like that. And you can put your comments and questions here, and we will respond here. Often, if we don't respond, we will be saving it for the Q&A, which ends the session. So don't think we haven't heard you, just that we're probably waiting for it. And Mitchell and I will be responding to the Q&A question box as we go along. And at this point, I think that's my job. So what I want to do is turn it over to the first presenter, and that is going to be, let me go back to here. Mitchell Levy will be interviewing Kathy Swift for the next 10 minutes or so, and then he'll be talking to Jeff Kahn about standards issues. So let me turn the desktop over to Kathy, and you can take it away.
Great. Thank you so much. This is Mitchell Levy, and I am from College Open Textbooks. I'm the marketing chair for that. And I want to just make a generic statement to everyone. I'll try my best to answer questions as people have them throughout the webinar today. But if you have questions about College Open Textbooks, and there's a brief description about what we do, or anything that is discussed today, feel free to send me an email. I'll either answer directly or point you in the right direction. Kathy, if you could just switch to the next slide. I wanted to make a quick announcement. We run a Ning community where we're talking about open textbooks and use of open education content within community colleges and beyond. And we're currently at 900 members. We're making a push. If you take a look at the URL, it's collegeopentextbooks.ning.com, and we're making a push to get to 1,000. So everyone who registers at the Ning between now and the end of next week will get a virtual open bouquet of flowers, and we will give and send a special gift to the 1,000 member who join up, and we may do a couple things special between 900 and 1,000. So if you could go there and sign up, if you're not actively participating in this community yet, it'll be valuable for you, and I appreciate you doing that. So real presenter today, and I'll just be around to ask questions and help along, is Kathy Swift. And Kathy is Director of Academic Partner Service at Merlot. And Kathy, I think probably the right first question that people ask and that you're going to address is, where do we find OERs?
Well, thank you, Mitchell. I think that's a very important question for many people. Trying to get my slide to advance here, and it won't. Give me a second. There we go. You can find OERs, open educational resources, in a lot of areas, and I think some of my co-presenters today, you'll be hearing from them. And those include Connections, which has online textbooks and courses and even pieces of courses or modules of courses. College Open Textbooks, of course, has free online textbooks. OCW also has a lot of online material, primarily courses. OER Commons has materials. They have a lot of pieces as well as courses, and I believe some textbooks too. And of course, you'll be hearing from Steve later on about the SoftChalk Connect program. So we have a lot of resource people here today that will be guiding you to where to find these open educational resources. Because I do work for Merlot, I'm going to concentrate on Merlot. I used to be a faculty member and have been working now full-time on the Merlot project for about 5.5 years. But I actually started with Merlot back when the pilot program occurred. Finding OERs in Merlot, what I want to do is to go to our website, and we're basically going to be looking at 4 different ways of finding materials. Those include browsing them, searching, doing an advanced search, and also doing a federated search. So what I'm going to do is actually go to the Merlot site. And I hope you all are seeing my screen right now. Can I get a feedback from?
Yep, we
okay,
are.
Super. Okay. This is the Merlot homepage, and you can get there easily by the web address is www.merlot.org. And what we're going to do is just show you today how to find resources. And what I want to do is go over to the area on the left where you see Browse Collection. And I'm just going to give you an example of possibly me being a biology teacher. These are our major headings in different categories. And obviously, biology would be found in science and technology. So I'm going to click on science and technology. And these are all subcategories that are found in science and technology. The numbers in parentheses are actually the number of resources that we have within that collection. So I'm going to click on biology, where we have 2,207 materials. And you can see that even biology is further broken down by the categories of materials. I also want to show you down here is that we have, this is I think what differentiates Merlot from a lot of the other collections, is that we do have a variety of material types, ranging from short little animations that you might want to pop into an online course or that you might want to use in your classes, to totally online courses that are free and open to the public to use. So we have a lot of different material types. I'm just going to use an example here within biology of genetics. And so once again, I'm going to click on the genetics here on the left, and we see there are 309 materials in genetics. So I've located 309 materials. This is a hit list, what we call a hit list, and the highest quality materials based on peer review rise to the top. So obviously the first one here is DNA from the beginning, and what I can then do is click on each of these individually, and it will take me directly to what we call the material detail. And we can read a little bit about the material here. We can read a brief description of it and see who it's appropriate for, in some cases, what age group. I'm going to stop right there because I just want to talk right now about finding materials. And I'm going to show you some other ways is searching materials. So we've basically drilled down through the biology collection to genetics. And let's see what else we can find in genetics. So I'm just going to type genetics in the search box, and I'm going to look for any materials in Merlot that have to do with genetics. And you'll see that when we do the search, the hit list is by relevance. So actually these two materials are a little bit more relevant to the word genetics than is the DNA from the beginning, which is the first one we looked at. So we'll find different materials sometimes because with the search you're looking for the relevance to the search term. Another way of even narrowing it down further is up at the top here, we can do an advanced search for materials. And I'm going to be looking, I'm going to put in genetics, and I'm going to put in, and I'm doing this rapidly, I realize, but I just want to show you what it's really capable of. I can look at the material type, and let's say that I want to do a tutorial. And I'll also want to do one that has a Creative Commons license on it. And we talked about Creative Commons in our first webinar, so I'm just going to check yes here for Creative Commons. Now I can be doing a lot of other types of searches with this, but the Creative Commons is the one that does come up. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just search. And you'll see that I do come up with some other ones that have, they are tutorials, they're about genetics, and they have a Creative Commons license with them. Now one other type of search that you can do in Merlot is our searching other libraries. And this is a real advantage in that I'm going to, these are different collections. We've already looked at Merlot, so I'm going to take that out. But you can search the NSDL. You can search connections, MIT OpenCourseware, which is the OCW, and OER Commons. Now, I'm going to put genetics up here also. And since we're not searching Merlot, we're going to be searching anything else that has to do with genetics. Now, this may take just a second for it to load up. So we'll give it a second because it is searching all of these other libraries. And as I said, it takes, the more libraries you search, obviously, the more things, the longer it does take.
Oh, sure.
So
Kathy, this is pretty powerful.
It is, absolutely, because you'll see some of our other colleagues who are on this call. We have the OER Commons here. So we can go to the materials in the OER Commons that it lists. I went to the OER Commons rather than going exactly to the genetics site, so we can go there. Here's one from Connections, which is it says old genetics background. Not sure what that is, but there's a nice picture of DNA there. And even the NSDL has some material on it. I also hit the wrong thing. I meant to hit the genetic selection evolution with that one. So I think, because Merlot has a lot of other libraries in which you can find material about a particular subject. So really finding materials is not as difficult as a lot of people might think.
No, but so the next question,
okay.
This has gone real quick, but obviously you can find material and you can do it fairly quickly. But what about using OERs? How, if I'm a faculty member, what are different ways that I use open educational resources?
Okay, excellent question, and I think you can use your imagination about thinking about it. Faculty can use them in presentations within the class, again, depending on the material. They can use them or embed them in online classes. Sometimes I think some of the materials are helpful to refresh your memory about a particular subject that you might not be too terribly familiar with. You can also send students to the resource and use it as a tutorial use it for research purposes or drill and practice. What I want to do now is go back to, get out of this. My screen has frozen. Give me just a second here. I don't know what happened to my screen. I want to get out of here. Okay, yeah, okay, here we go. And I do want to go back to that first material that we looked at in biology and talk about how, just give you examples, DNA from the beginning. One of the things that you'll notice about Merlot is that we don't host these materials. We really are referatory. I say Merlot is a Google for educators because, like Google, we point to the materials and you go to the material yourself. So here is DNA from the beginning. I'm not a biology teacher, but I love playing around with this sometimes. There are 75 different experiments. I looked at this last night about genes coming in pairs. Now, think about how you might use this in a genetics class. You could embed this URL in the class, and there are animations. So we start talking about the traits of peas, and they have different shapes and colors and seed coat colors. There are also problems. You could discuss this in class, and there's a little problem here that you can send somebody to. I have to, and again, not knowing anything about genetics, I'm going to say self-fertilize, and I got a right answer. That's amazing. But you can do a self-test on this, so it really solves a lot of problems for people. And you can use these materials in different ways. Again, there are a lot of tutorials that help students perhaps drill and practice on some of their the concerns that they have in class. So they can be used in a variety of ways. I think one thing more that I do want to mention is ensuring quality, and that, sorry, I'm going to put this up to a, well, I don't really need to. Ensuring quality. In Merlot, we do it through peer review, through faculty comments, and through student comments. If I go back to DNA from the beginning, I just want to show you briefly, and I know we need to move on here. We do peer reviews of the materials, and these are peer reviews that are done by people who are actually teaching in the genetics area. So there's a brief description, and we look at three criteria. One of them is the quality of the content, and these are comments from at least 2 peer reviewers plus the editor of the biology editorial board. And we look at potential effectiveness, how you can easily use it in the classroom, and then also the ease of use.
Kathy, I have to interrupt because we are running over and we've got a lot of people in the wings wanting to get on. So
okay.
I think that, yes. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
And I think we need to move along to Jeff. Jeff,
we have a lot of, oh, please do, Steve. And while you're doing that, I'll just let you know, we have a lot of Merlot questions that were not answered, which Kathy will get to now, or we'll try to answer at the end if we have a little bit of time. And of course, you also have access to Kathy's email address, and you get asked those directly.
Yeah, I think we don't have time right now, so let's go ahead.
Yeah, there are several questions on there about Creative Commons licensing, and so I think we can get to that as we go. So, Jeff, I think I'm trying to hand the presentation over to you. There you. Have you seen a query saying, do you want to put on your desktop?
Now, on the Creative Commons licensing, this is Mitchell again. Cable Green has stepped in, and he answered with his email address if you have particular questions there. And Cable, I really appreciate you being so helpful and helping the community like that.
Okay, here we go. Jeff is on.
Jeff, perfect. Hey, Jeff, I just, if you could do, you wear so many hats. You and I both. Could you just do a quick thing of who you are, and then of course you're speaking on behalf of IMS Global. If you do a quick intro and then jump into your content, that would be great.
Jeff, nobody hears Jeff.
Can people hear me?
Yes,
we can now.
Yes, we can
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is Jeff Kahn. Yes, I do wear a number of hats. I am the specialist in Creative Commons Common Cartridge for IMS Global Learning Consortium. I'm also have been a consultant to SoftChalk on how they're editing product, which you'll hear more about, how it would integrate with systems such as Merlot, or with Connections, or with other open educational resources or commercial resources. I have been a contributor to a number of open source projects. I'm very active in the Blackboard building block community, and have worked just with a whole range of initiatives that have looked at OERs. I even work with the Merlot folks on their building block for Blackboard and some other things about the federated search capability of Merlot. So touch a lot of different projects in that way.
Great, thanks. So let's move on. You wanted to talk about common cartridge. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Right. So here, let me see if people can see my main slide there. Let me see. I think maybe you can get a better view of it. Well, I'm here representing the IMS Global Learning Consortium, and the main standards there. Let's see, there we go. Sorry, I'm having a little technical problem advancing my slide. I'll just describe it while I'm trying to get the slide to go. One is, who is IMS? Sorry about this. Can people see who is IMS slide?
Yes, we're good.
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, so IMS, for those who don't know it, is a standards body. We are looking at which standards would be useful for OER. We want to make education occur in a more, in a faster way, a more scalable way, and to really measure the impact on teaching and learning of interoperability standards, ways to move information around, and so on. Probably many of you are familiar with IMS. For those who aren't, you can go to www.imsglobal.org and find out more. But that's the group that I'm talking about today. And there are two standards in particular that are useful. One is Common Cartridge. Probably people have heard a little bit about this, but for those who haven't, it's a standard for distributing learning content that can be moved around among learning platforms. The cartridge has metadata in it that tells you who the author is, what kind of rights there are associated with it, what language it's in, those types of things. And the cartridges contain web content and media files, and but what makes them particularly interesting is they don't just contain the content, they can also contain things like discussions and links and very significantly assessments. And when the learning platform reads in the cartridge, it will create a native assessment, and that's particularly important for getting the full effect of that content. Then you can export these from LMSs too, and the native version is what's really sort of the important message here about a common cartridge. It's not just the files, but it's the LMS-specific other elements such as gradebook integration with the assessments that makes Common Cartridge particularly useful. You can author a Common Cartridge with products such as SoftChalk, and a very interesting thing about Common Cartridge is that the newest version supports curriculum standards alignment, which is important in sort of K through 20, where you want to take some educational material and decide what state or other standard it aligns to, and you can find cartridges and look at their curriculum standards metadata. Now, this is very important for a scenario where you might be looking for a very specific OER. So think of what Kathy showed, but a much, much more narrow search where you actually want to know for a particular curriculum standard that might not have been mastered, is there an OER that covers that particular content? And you could zero in on that OER, offer it, say, to a student, who then could take a material that's aligned to that standard in the Common Cartridge. They could view it in a Common Cartridge player or perhaps their LMS, and then they could take another assessment and hopefully master the material. So I think the two big takeaways are common cartridge is a format that you want to look for when you're looking for an OER because it has good LMS integration, and that an interesting part about these common cartridges is the alignment with the curriculum standards, which is forthcoming. The only other standard I wanted to highlight for things you might look for in an OER are the what's called APIP, which is the Accessibility Portable Item Profile, and that's very important for access for all metadata at the question level. So what we're talking about here is you've got an assessment, it's built into your common cartridge, and you can find out how that particular material might need to be presented in an alternate way for students with particular accessibility needs. So look for common cartridge, which I believe you can do as one of the searches in Merlot. I'm not sure, but I believe you can filter by that. But if you can't, maybe it's forthcoming. But look for things in common cartridges and keep your eye out for APIP. And those are two of the standards. There are others that IMS is using, but those are the two I picked that I think are most relevant for OERs. And those were my comments. I hope I kept to the 5 minutes. I know it was very fast, but we're on a tight schedule today.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Jeff. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you had 5 minutes and you delivered. Yeah, thanks. That's great.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Lisa, do you want to talk about OER Commons? Lisa, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. I'm about
Okay,
to pass
great.
the desktop over to you. Pardon me?
Great, sounds good.
Okay, I'm about to pass the desktop over to you.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this webinar thing. So OER Commons is a global OER network with a current collection size of about 30,000, just over 31,000. And we think of ourselves as an
Lisa, you have not shown the screen. There should be a question saying, show my screen. Okay, never mind. That's my problem.
Yeah, I can see it, sir. Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so we think of ourselves as an educational ecosystem using knowledge sharing because so much of our work is collaborative and engages multiple partners around the world. So this is the homepage. We have a variety of advanced search features that enable users to search our collection by subject, grade level, material type, media format, and other various open licenses, as well as searching items that have been rated and reviewed by users. So I'm going to go back to the homepage and then drill back into an individual resource item. So here's what our individual resource page looks like, and we believe that the community plays a really critical role in discoverability and findability of quality OER through your engagement with the resources and feedback. So our most valuable resources in the collection are resources that have been vetted and reviewed by users. So we focused our design here on making it dead simple to rate and review OER, to tag it and build personal collections and share resources through social media. So we recently added the functionality you see here on the right. This resource has been aligned to some Common Core standards, and so if you hover over a tag for a standard, you'll see the details about that standard. You can also align the item to an additional standard if you think it aligns to one that you don't see there. I'm just making this up as I go along, so this is not legit, and I'm going to erase it after, which is also really easy to do. So then you add a tag, gives you the option to add another one, or you can close it out and see the tag that you've added to the resource. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete that one since it's not relevant. So in response to user feedback that we got that it was, they wanted an easier way to rate and review resources while still looking at them, we've built this toolbar that enables you to, from an individual, okay, that doesn't seem to be opening. I don't know what's going on. But it enables you to rate and review a resource directly from the resource page. So you don't have to go back and forth between our site and the page. You can review an item directly from the item itself. And it's just a toolbar that goes across the top of your screen. And so another feature that we recently added to support content contributions, because we think it's really important that users contribute to OER Commons and tell us what OER they think is great, and if you have OER yourself that you're wanting to share and looking for a way to do it, we have built a bookmarking button. And you can just drag it into your bookmark bar. And it shows up there. I have too many bookmarks. It normally says add OER, but there's too many bookmarks on my page. But if I wanted to add an individual resource, I go to this, like, here's an example. I'm browsing the web. I find a resource from NASA that I think looks great. Then I click on the tool, and it'll pull some information up that may or may not be relevant. I know in the case of this resource that this isn't the actual title, so I changed the title. But you can just add the information about the resource. Oops. Anyway, you get the idea. Add the metadata below. Anyway, I'm not going to go too far into the demo. You can add the metadata and you can submit a resource this way. It's really easy to just have it in your workflow and contribute from there. Another thing that we offer on OER Commons is we have several microsites. So I'm going to show you one. This is our green microsite, which is a site that we co-developed with our Greek partner Agronaut, and it's focused on environmental OER and sustainability. And so we co-developed this with a partner. So it's basically a micro collection within OER Commons that's focused on a specific theme. And we build these out with partners all the time. So if that's something that you're interested in, we can work with you to create one. And I think that's it. That's all I wanted to go over.
Okay, that was great. And we are getting closer to getting back on time. And
so good job.
I think we can move forward. And I think our next presenter is going to be Daniel from Connections. And if it's okay with you, Daniel, I'm going to turn this over to you. Daniel, are you there? Daniel, we can hear you typing, I think, but we can't hear you talking.
All right, can everyone hear me now?
Daniel, yes, we can.
Great. So I'm excited to be here and talking about Connections real quickly. Connections, in a brief sentence, is a place where anyone can create rich multimedia educational materials and then share them with everyone in a global repository. So specifically today I want to talk about how to actually find content on Connections. And so as you can see right here on my page, this is actually the home page of Connections. And there's two different places on the home page where you can search or browse for content. So this is the browsing area. You can search by subject, language, popularity, etc. Or you can go up here on any of the pages on Connections and search for any of your keyword terms. So for instance here, let's just search for algebra. The search is going to pull up results from over 19,000 reusable modules that have been woven into collections. And a collection is basically an ordering, a specific ordering of different topics, similar to a textbook or a course. And so here we can see a bunch of different objects that were pulled up from the repository that have to do with algebra. You can sort by relevance, popularity, any of these things right here. You can also look at it in different views. So for here, you have a compact view, which is going to show you just the name and the author, or statistics if you're interested in seeing how often this content is being used. Another important feature of this search is that you can also limit it to collections. So say that you're searching for something and you want to find an entire book or an entire course on algebra, which is a pretty common search. you simply select the collections tool right here and then search for the term again, and it will pull up only the collections. So let's go ahead and look at this one piece of content in the repository called Elementary Algebra. This is actually a book that was funded by the College Open Textbook group. So thank you all for putting that onto Connections. And then you can see this is what it's going to look like. It's going to have this banner up here showing that the content is actually endorsed by the College Open Textbooks. Let's actually look at one of the modules here. I actually have it open. This is the prime factorization module. You can kind of think of a module as like a chapter or a section in a chapter of a textbook. So as we look in here, we can see that here is a box that highlights the lenses that it's in, and then also the related material. So if you were looking through and you find some stuff on algebra that you really like, and you want to try to find something that's similar, you can go look at the related content. Now coming back to this lenses box right here, a lens is a special list of content from Connections that has been reviewed or selected by an individual or an organization and then highlighted in their lens. So in specific, if we look at the Community College Open Textbook Collaborative, or actually College Open Textbooks lens right here, they've gone through and reviewed all of this content and said that this is high quality content and we would like to give it our stamp of approval. So you can go through here and find all of the content that they really like that's in Connections. There are many different lenses, and you can find those lenses here on this tab that says Lenses, and just go around and look at all different organizations that have contributed to Connections or gone through and reviewed the content in Connections and given it their stamp of approval. So that's basically all I wanted to go through. I know we're short on time, so contact information if you have any questions about Connections and how you can get involved finding or using the content on Connections. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Daniel. And just so everybody knows, the very last slide I'm going to put up when this is over is everybody's contact information. So hold on, if you want to be able to contact these folks, you'll be able to jot down that information. In the meantime, I am going to take the presentation piece back and talk to you about the SoftChalk piece, and then that's going to be a segue to the very last piece to show you how an e-text that's available in a variety of digital learning repositories was converted with SoftChalk. Now, we've got two pieces here. We're really talking about how to find OER. Well, SoftChalk authoring has a media search tool that searches while you are creating content in the authoring tool. I'm going to do something. Okay. While you're doing your creation in SoftChalk, you can go and immediately go to Media Search Tool and do that. Next month's topic is authoring. So at that point, I will talk to you more about the authoring tool, because not only that, but Merlot and Connections and others have authoring tools for creating OERs, and we will talk to you about that next month. In the meantime, I want to talk about SoftChalk Connect, which is our digital learning object repository and community. There are some free accounts and there's some additional accounts you can do more functionality in, but what it amounts to is you can create content from SoftChalk, a wide variety of content, from this individual learning activities and quizzes to entire lessons to entire courses. And I am at this point going to I'm just going to go to our SoftChalk digital learning community and just give you a very quick rundown. And as you can see here, you can get a free account, but you have a variety of things you can look at. What comes up is the most recently shared material, and then you have the top-rated material, and you're about to see this World War II lesson that Melissa has done from Judd's content, and it is available on our website. You can search in a variety of ways as well. So not only can you go and look at various elements, but if you're going to look at something like iAnatomy, which I've done that kind of search before, and you can do advanced searches. If you want to search by subject matter, by grade level, by type of content, you're able to do that as well to customize your search. And once you get that information, you can go to the lesson, and you can get the embed code, so you can put it inside of content, inside of any web page, etc. Or you can get the hyperlink and go directly to that lesson and take a look at it and use it. One of the nice things about SoftChalk and Merlot is one of the places you can put content for Merlot is in SoftChalk Connect. I've just sort of briefly done it. Just remember that these are learning objects, and as well as full lessons. So there's a US map jigsaw. So you can get individual learning activities as well as, now where would that go? I got lucky there. Anyway, so you can do a lot of things with the content created in SoftChalk Connect, and you can actually use them and repurpose them as well. We use Creative Commons licensing, so you'll know exactly how much you can use that. Having said that, I don't really want to spend any more time there. I just want to give a brief view of what it could be. And then I want to turn it over to Melissa and Judd. So Melissa, I'm going to make you the presenter. And I think Judd's going to give a few comments as you begin.
Yeah, I'm Judd Sage. I started teaching online a few years ago after retiring from the classroom, and I had created a website back in the 1990s simply to reduce the cost of textbooks. That's what got me going into this whole business, and I realized that by using the web I could put materials online such as documents, historic documents, and I started putting my own what I call topic summaries online. When I finally got around to teaching online full-time, I turned everything into an entire textbook by simply fleshing out everything that I had. About a year ago, Melissa Atteberry at Lone Star located my website when she was looking for material to use for online courses. She asked if she could use mine. We got together, worked it out, and I gave her the use of all of my materials that she then enhanced using SoftChalk. She's done a beautiful job with it, and I have learned from her and taken some of her ideas back and put them on my own website. So I'll turn it over to Melissa now.
Well, hi, I'm Melissa Atteberry from Lone Star College, and like Judd said, I found his site online and loved the content and wanted to be able to put it into our online courses. But I kind of wanted to chunk it into smaller pieces and put more interactivity to it using SoftChalk, so I got his permission to be able to do that. And just to kind of give you an idea of what I did, this right here is a World War II section, and you can do so much with SoftChalk, like you can add sound files, like this is when the Prime Minister declared war. You can put in interactive maps that will show, you know, the different timelines and everything that is going on. Of course, you can do links. I have my pictures to where they pop up to be a little bit bigger so you can see more detail. And you can add in photo albums that the students can then flip through. And of course, one of my favorites is you can actually add in videos. And this is a newsreel of Pearl Harbor when it was attacked.
That's so cool.
You can, you can actually add in an entire website using the iframe, which is new in SoftChalk 7. And so this right here is an actual website, and this way your students don't actually get so lost because the website is right there. And then you can also add, of course, your self-checks, like your quiz poppers, your different activities and things like that. And it just makes the the content's so much more interactive than like maybe a PDF document or something like that. So a lot of these OERs, if you read the Creative Commons on them, sometimes they give you permission automatically to be able to take it and reformat it the way you want. And if they don't hesitate to contact the author, because you will be surprised at how many will say, yeah, sure, go ahead. You can do what you want. So there's a lot of material out there.
Well, thank you, Melissa. I've always been impressed, and as I said before, if you want to see more of this, go to SoftChalk Connect and look for World War II, and you'll find it. At this point, I am going to ask one more poll of all you. This is the last poll, and then we're going to go into Q&A mode for the last 10 minutes of this session. And I'd like to get a sense for who you are in your organization. You know, some of you have more than one role, so you know, feel free to click on, you know, whatever combination of roles you play. And at this point, we are up for questions and answers. Mitchell, are there a series of questions that you've seen that you think we can lump together and to get started?
Well, I think one of the big questions or series of questions we had was when Kathy was talking about Merlot. And Kathy, I don't know if you've had a chance to answer all those directly, or if there's anyone in particular you want to actually ask or talk about and then answer directly. Oh, I'm wondering if we
tried to go in and yeah, I'm here. I tried to go in and answer most of them. I had a hard time reading them because the questions are kind of little. But,
oh, I know. This is where you got to unlock the screen thing. But yeah, is there anyone that particular that you think would be worth sharing with everyone so that you can dispel some myths?
I think one question from somebody was, well, one of the questions that I will dispel, I guess, is the fact that you do not have to be a member of Merlot. If you're using something in your courses, nobody has to join Merlot to use those. You can do everything we did, search for materials in all the ways that we looked at, and you don't have to be a member of Merlot. So a faculty can send a student to one of those sites and the student can use the site. It's only when you want to contribute material, when you want to make a member comment, that we ask that people join. We're really trying to build a community, and you do that by joining the community. But we looked, I think, for the first 6 months of 2011, only 9% of the people who came to search at Merlot were actually logged in as members. Now, a lot of people are members, but just go and use materials too. So it's free and open to the public.
A couple of questions have just come in about Merlot while you're talking. And
okay.
One of them is, does Merlot give an embed code to put into a lesson? I believe they just give links into.
Right. We don't. Yes, because we don't host those sites, so it is hosted on the author's website. So
right.
We don't get involved in that.
Let me add that if you're using
embed codes.
Right. If you're using SoftChalk, there's an iframe option there in which you can take any web page and integrate it inside of SoftChalk created lesson. And the question that you just answered, is there a fee to become a member of Merlot? And nope.
No, absolutely not. No, we're really financed through our partners. We don't rely on grants. We occasionally will get a grant in conjunction with somebody, but we have university system and campus partners who provide most of the funding for Merlot. Membership is free to anybody. It's only when your campus or your institution wants to join that that any money is involved. So anybody can join.
I think there is a really great question that has just opened up. How do we achieve buy-in from faculty? And this individual says their university is trying to adopt open source, but having a heck of a time having our faculty and program directors get on board. Who wants to handle that? Oh, somebody, surely.
I could see everyone jumping up at once.
Let me just add that one of the things that you have to fight is the commercial book publishers who, in my experience, I won't elaborate, have gone out of their way to fight what is going on here today, what we have seen.
Yeah, I think this is...
this is Kathy. I also...
Okay.
I was just going to say, I think it's more of a viral marketing campaign in that sending somebody to Melissa's site, perhaps people in the history department, and sending them the link to her SoftChalk material, and letting them just look through it and see how much material is available there, and they could, suggest that they implement parts of it or show parts of it or just little pieces of it in their classes. I think, doing it directly like that helps build people's confidence in using them in their courses.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. What I was going to say, this is Mitchell from College Open Textbooks. That's really sort of the goal and one of the things that we're doing as part of that. So what's interesting, as Kathy mentioned, changing the informational diet of the faculty and the administrators makes a lot of sense. So sending them to sites, to courses, to areas that is exciting for them. If you need help, one of the things you could do is, and I'll make a pitch again for the collegeopentextbooks.ning.org. If you sign up for that, I'm sorry, collegeopentextbooks.ning.com, sign up for that. That's a great place to ask that question, and you will get responses back from peers as well as folks from College Open Textbooks, and we will help you change minds.
A very nice note from Laura commenting that the content by Melissa and Judd and what the two of them have done has really opened up the history experience. That's very nice.
Oh, actually being able to look at an old newsreel from within a textbook is absolutely fabulous. Love the concept and idea and the approach that they both have done.
We have a couple of more minutes, and as I've said, I'm keeping the contact information up on the screen for the rest of the time, so if there's a particular person you want to get hold of, write those notes down. We will ask you as an exit survey if you want more information about some of this material, and we will try to get back to you as a result, but this gives you a chance to go directly to them, or to me, if you will. There's a question from Will asking about, can you briefly explain the types of licenses and implications for educators? I presume they're talking about Creative Commons licensing.
That would be my guess. There's a lot of content available at Creative Commons, and that site is certainly worth exploring. Cable Green, who's part of Creative Commons, also is online in his emails. In the questionnaire, you could ask him directly or anyone at the Creative Commons organizations. And it's really, I don't know if anyone wants to take a conversation and talk a little bit more about it, but that is definitely the de facto standard in place where the definitions are driven from. So CreativeCommons.org is definitely the right place to go and to take a look at those definitions.
I would just say as an author that I was invited to contribute my stuff to College Open Textbooks, and they have an excellent review process. I was invited to both review textbooks and had my book reviewed, and it's a very supportive process.
Oh, and Joe, we really enjoyed working with you, so thanks for piping in.
Thank you.
There's a couple of questions about, and I don't understand the question. Maybe somebody else. What metadata uses in Merlot? Dublin's or IEEE?
I guess I should be, this is Kathy, and I should be able to answer that, but I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a technical person, so I really don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't understand the question either, so somebody has got a lot more information than we do. Maybe they want to contribute to that information through the Q&A. But I think we're on the hour, so unless there's some last-minute questions that any of you have, or any of the comments that our presenters would like to make before we sign off, and so I will pause here and sort of wait to see what last comments any of you might want to make.
I've been trying to answer questions. I think a lot of them are answered. You know, I think everyone did a good job today. Is there anyone else who would like to add more comments? By the way, the Ning group grew a little bit. Would love to get more. collegeopentextbooks.ning.com. If Jeff Kahn, if you haven't left yet, there could be some technical questions you can address.
Yeah, Jeff had to leave. So.
Okay, got it. So looks like good feedback, getting a lot of questions answered. Anyone else have a closing comment they'd like to make?
Thanks for including me.
Yeah, this is Kathy, and I just appreciate everybody being here today. It's been a great opportunity to talk about this, and I'm sure all the presenters agree that if you have any questions, just you've got our email addresses, and just contact us.
Right, and you will be asked a question in the post survey. As soon as you log off, you will get a series of questions. One of them is, do you want more information about, or you want somebody to contact you? Let me just remind you that next month we are doing the third in the series of Open Educational Resource webinars, and we're going to be talking about authoring tools for creating OERs. And then the following month, this is still under development, we're going to put together a session on getting funding for OER initiatives and projects. So please continue, stay tuned. We will send you email information about that as we go.
Steve, sounds great. And thanks for you and SoftChalk for pulling this together and pulling all the panelists together.
It's been my pleasure.